Welcome to another edition of Vegas Bad Boys of Podcasting. Is I, DJ Impact and Matt Michaels. And that's all you have for tonight. Of course, we record on Sundays, and Wrestle Dream is still taking place for AEW. So we got Sin City Steve, and even our honorary bad boy Robert is out. Well, I shouldn't necessarily say he's watching the show. He has some other things planned, but we know Sin City's watching it. So anyway, yeah, we're here, and we welcome you to 3 Count. We got some good topics for you. Make sure you put your comments in the comment box in YouTube, Facebook, and Twitch. We'll try to get it on as we see. All right, so with that, let's get it started. It's time. Vegas Bad Boys of Podcasting present
1, 2, 3.
Count Talk.
Count Talk, baby.
All right, and here is our first.
1.
This one is Nick Jackson fires back at fan calling the Young Bucks a cancer to pro wrestling. This is from WrestlingNews.co. The article just reads that it just says the Young Bucks have been a polarizing tag team in the wrestling business for years, as most fans enjoyed and appreciate what they could do in the square circle, while others do not like their style. Now, outside of the ring, Nick and Mac Jackson have also done a lot for the business, most notably being a part of launching All Elite Wrestling. And the tag team recently locked down new long-term agreements with AEW earlier this year, along with Hangman Page and Kenny Omega. There is I don't know, I guess we don't call it a tweet anymore now that it's on X, but for lack of a better term, we call it a tweet that went out there. And yeah, the fan clearly says that he said the Young Bucks is definitely a cancer to wrestling, and it garnered a response from Nick Jackson. It says, he quote back saying, haha, helping get hundreds of wrestlers in production crew jobs and creating an alternative to wrestling is a weird way to think we're cancer to wrestling, but please keep thinking that silly. And then the next thing he responds, I never respond to anything. Sometimes you got to show you're still human. Let me ask you this, Matt Michaels. Once again, I listened to you guys 3 Count last week. You had on Travis. When the Young Bucks was mentioned, he said they were friends of his. He kind of remembers them when they were, wrestling in high school gyms, and he kind of seeing where they come from then to where they are now. So he has this respect for them. So in one way you can probably look at that. I know on the other terms, when you would look at the Young Bucks, I know, you come at the Young Bucks very hard, just because, you see what they have done and what they are doing in pro wrestling. We could probably look at this as, they say sometimes, even if the clock strikes wrong twice, I guess, and within a 24-hour period, maybe the fan had a point. They are a cancer to wrestling, but maybe Nick's got a point too. Hey, we have put a lot of jobs, wrestlers out there, camera folks, and we've created just tons of jobs out there. So it's silly to think that. Those, both things could be kind of true. But what's your take on this when you saw what this fan said and how Nick reacted?
Well, one of the things that first off, not only Travis, but most of anyone who lived in LA or Southern California, has either known or known of the Bucks for years and years and years, because they scrambled from like you said, high school gyms, and the Young Bucks were FSW tag team champions. They were, I believe, on the first FSW show here in the swap meet, where it was 150 degrees, and so these guys, they've it's not like they just have pure arrogance or anything like that, right? They've earned the respect of fans and wrestlers alike. But I think what starts happening is, again, you start getting people who online especially start taking sides. And one of the things that I noticed right away is the person who said this, their hashtag is pipe bombgy. Well, if you are using your at being pipe bomb,
Yeah.
then it's pretty clear that this person most likely is a CM Punk guy. And what is interesting is that I think, in the WWE, they tend to be able to really squash things backstage.
Yeah.
It's just that's how it's always been. If stuff leaks out, it's because people intentionally leaked it out to get heat on each other or whatever. But what you're seeing here is this was a very public thing between the Bucks and CM Punk, and you have so many fans in Punk's camp that are going to look at the EVPs as being the ones who caused this problem, and Punk did nothing wrong. Then you look at the other side, and Punk is the problem, and he is a cancer. I mean, that's been said, by, and this is the difference too. Honestly, I've never heard the actual boys say that the Bucks are cancer. But you have heard through the grapevine or through, off the record conversations that Punk is a cancer.
Oh, yeah.
So it's very interesting. With that said, at the same time, the EVPs are in a unique spot because they don't necessarily, they're not necessarily acting as executive vice presidents as much as guys who are giving themselves opportunities to be the cleaner or to have the trios championships or to get the number one contender spot against FTR. And it's like, at this point, as great as the Young Bucks were in terms of what they did to innovate tag team wrestling at the independent level, and to get it kind of reflective on the major level, these guys are not the same team, and they don't need the push. That they don't need to be in major storylines at this point. It's funny because you have the Hardys in there, and the Hardys are essentially doing what the Young Bucks should be doing, and that is building younger talent, giving them opportunity to work with them and make them look good. So I'd like to see the Young Bucks do more of that, right?
Yeah.
I'd like to see Kenny Omega do more of that. I'd also like to see Kenny Omega when he's getting ready to have a big match against an opponent, not to be on the streets of Japan filming the promo for the opponent, which is something that, DJ, you probably haven't seen. It just hit the internet today, and it's just fucking exploding because here's a guy who's supposed to be in a feud, and he's literally filming the video for the guy who is saying, I'm going to kick this guy's ass. So that's the thing. I don't think cancer is the right word. I think that choices being made by some of the seasoned talent is just horrible. They're just making bad decisions.
Yeah.
And they just blow it off. And one of the reasons I think they can is because of the fact that Tony Khan doesn't hold anybody responsible in that company.
Right.
And the one person Tony Khan holds least responsible for anything is Tony Khan.
Right.
And he loves when you tell him how fucking great his company is, because he agrees with you 100%. But if you don't like certain things and you make suggestions, or you have other people who are trying to tell you, hey, maybe you shouldn't focus on this, or maybe you should do this or that, he doesn't want to hear that shit.
Right.
Because he wants to be a boy. He wants to be, one of the guys. He wants his friends. And that's a problem, because you let guys get away with shit that they shouldn't get away with. And then it leads to problems. So are they a cancer? No. The biggest problem to the health of that company is the person who owns the company.
Yeah.
And it's reflective again, when you sell 4,000 or whatever it was, 6,000 tickets to a pay-per-view, and the WWE house show the night before sells, 100 more tickets than your pay-per-view.
Right.
Again, it's odd. They shouldn't be in the position they're at. And you can't say it's Matt and Nick who are causing those problems, right?
I mean, should they just both either EVP or wrestle, and that's it? So one or the other. Like, if they wanted to say they out wrestle, then let go of the EVP position.
Well, you could even do, listen, Hunter is the biggest example, right?
Mm-hmm.
Because Hunter was able to basically take, where he was in his career and slowly start transitioning into the backstage role, the executive role.
Yeah.
And then what you started seeing then was kind of a slowdown of his wrestling. Mm-hmm. And you'd see him now wrestle maybe twice a year,
Right.
Now you don't see him wrestle, at all, right? So he took a period of time of probably about, 5 to 7 years to do the slowdown and to transition and become front office. The problem with the Bucks and Kenny Omega and Hangman, these guys started the company. Right. So, personally, a great example is Chris Daniels. Chris Daniels is actually the mold that these guys should be looking at, because Chris was around and mentoring these guys for years.
Right.
Everyone knows him
mm-hmm.
in Southern California. Anyone who's wrestled has intertwined with him.
Yep.
And the honest answer is, you don't see him on TV, except for a handful of times throughout the year. Mm-hmm. Or maybe, he'll show up on a New Japan show or something like that, right?
Yeah.
But the idea is he became head of talent relations. And what does Chris Daniels do? He focuses his attention on being head of talent relations.
Yeah.
So that's the problem. The problem is that you don't necessarily need the glory of being in the ring when you could have the glory of growing your company and really, putting your knowledge towards the development of, these young guys and getting them the exposure, because you did it. You figured out how to sell your merchandise in Hot Top, right?
Right.
So focus on these younger guys and how do you make MJF a household name? That's the question, right? And I think that, that's a thing. Darby Allin, he's the main event against Christian in this Wrestle Dream or whatever the fuck it's called. Well, the problem is what is there to sell about Darby, right? How do you make that guy someone who mainstream now knows, not just your fans?
Right.
And he's headlining your pay-per-view. Why? Because it's in his home city, which is an ass backwards fucking way to do things.
Right.
And by the way, Edge just debuted. So
okay.
Yeah. So Edge is in AEW, which could be good or could be about as exciting as Matt Hardy in AEW.
Yeah, I had just read an article earlier today as I was looking at stories that said that Edge was removed from the SmackDown package video. So I never noticed. I don't pay that type of attention, but apparently that was noticed. So apparently we knew that that was coming once you.
No, it was anticipated by the AEW fans.
Yeah, absolutely.
But the thing is that his contract ended yesterday, I think it was. So the way he had his contract structured, he didn't have too long to wait, and
yeah.
But again, that's the whole thing with the idea of business, right? For AEW, Edge is an important person to get. Why? Because the idea of Edge showing up is important to them to get them exposure, because Edge is a name that has been created and known.
Yeah.
For the WWE, Jade Cargill is a bigger get because she's someone they can develop into a huge star.
Absolutely.
So you can see the difference between the two companies and what they need. So.
Right. Yeah. Man, good stuff on that. Let's move right into our second count. And this one is multiple pro wrestling and MMA companies interested in Matt Riddle following his WWE release. This is from WrestlingHeadlines.com. All right. And so this one reads that according to the latest Wrestling Observer newsletter, Riddle is a hot commodity in the world of wrestling and MMA. The report states that the bare knuckle boxing and PFL has expressed interest in the former U.S. champion, as well as several wrestling companies. Now, while AEW was not specifically mentioned, Dave Meltzer did speculate last week that Tony Khan could be interested in bringing him. Now, Riddle, of course, signed back in 2018 with WWE and have been on a dominant run at NXT brand before finally moving up to the main roster in 2020. So that's kind of where that all it is for that. Now, we got a video because I didn't know exactly what had happened to lead up to his release, and so we got a video here. I'm going to try to set this up. I haven't done this in a minute, so I got to make sure I got everything set up properly, but we at least be able to hear kind of what took place. And here we go, right here. Okay. All right. So let's see if I can do this right and try to share this. It goes for about 52 seconds. This is my first time hearing this as well. So let me just come here. All right. And we're going to do a little bit of sharing. Here we go. Okay. All right, so let's see if I got this right here. Share screen. Okay, here we go. Share. All right, let's take a listen and see what we can find out here.
All I'm trying to say is, tell me, I'm looking at you, dead in the eyes. You know how to fuck. You know how to fuck. Dude, you need weights. You need some speed. Yo, fucking man. Yes, it is. I know how to fuck, dude. All right. Rob Bryson, you know how to fly. Fucking fly. Yeah. All right. Thank you.
Wow.
So yeah, he was drunk,
Pretty much. Yeah. Hold on.
and he grabbed the microphone and had obscenities going. So
right. There it is. Sorry about that. Had to figure out how to get out of this that streaming. Yeah. Yeah, grab the microphone. Wow. Okay. Yeah. That was definitely you got to think that when you're at the level of where you're at in your career and you're being a WWE star, what comes with that, a lot of responsibility, especially when you're outside living your life. And when you're out there and you know that everyone has access to cell phone cameras, you have to be, unfortunately, even if you don't think you should not be accountable when you're not at a certain job or whatever the case may be, when you represent a company, a media company, it's important that you watch what you say, what you do, and how to act. And he clearly just that's something that listen, he probably didn't want to do it, but I'm assuming when you're drunk, you just do things that you're just not even, you're not clearly thinking. So
well, and remember the big, there's a couple of big keys here. The first one is that he just got done with rehab. You know, he has not been out of rehab that long. And so to be publicly intoxicated after the company just paid for your rehab, that's not a great thing. So
yeah,
that's a bad look. Number two, the sale went through. And now that Endeavor owns, or whatever they're called, the
TKO or something.
TKO, yeah. Now that TKO is now the company. The honest question is, UFC and Matt Riddle have had a bad time, over the years. They've had a bad relationship.
I just recently saw a video. I thought it was clickbait, which it probably was, but at first I was a little hesitant to click on it. But it said something about the idea of Dana White, hate Matt Riddle or something. I don't know what it was titled, but whatever it was, I clicked on it and I watched it. And apparently, after his release, Dana was on some sort of sports talk show or whatever, and he did let loose on Matt. I didn't know it was that, deep. I mean, it's like this dude, Dana was like, this dude only had to show up work 3 times out of an entire year, and he comes all 3 times high, which is not the way you could come. They drug test you and all that. All you got to do is be clear and prepare for your fight. And he couldn't even do that. And yet he was making this amount of money, he mentioned, which was a lot. And yeah, I was just kind of like, okay, I never knew that. I know he was in MMA, but I didn't know that, wow, this was part of the reason why. And yeah, Dana let him have it. And yeah, I mean, you could definitely see now with the connection of having UFC and now WWE, yeah, with those that now intertwining, yes, something you can you can see how someone could say something and be like, yeah, this person is a problem.
And isn't it interesting too that what it just said about Edge showing up at AEW, right?
Right.
Edge is an established brand. He's someone who for him had a long, lengthy career and is a Hall of Famer, etc. So it benefits AEW. It's interesting that someone like Matt Riddle, who has had his issues with UFC, who has been helped by WWE, but then had this kind of come up and has had some things going on that made his relationship iffy. But what did Matt Riddle get? An established name and brand through WWE. So now you have other MMA companies like Bare Knuckles, which could really use him, right?
Yep.
To gain publicity. AEW, will they sign him? Probably. Who knows? Honestly, if the guy really does want to rehab his reputation, and I think go to Impact, right?
Yeah.
Go to a place that is lower pressure. You're not going to get paid as much, but let's focus on reestablishing yourself. Let's get to the point where then if you signed with an AEW or if the WWE brought you back, you would be in a better position to handle it. The greatest example of all this is Jeff Hardy, right?
Mm-hmm.
Jeff, look at how many times he's been given opportunities because he's Jeff Hardy.
Right.
And, as recently as his AEW, he debuts, things are looking high and anticipated. No joke when I say high.
Sure.
But, he fucked up. And that's the trap that any one of these companies, if they sign Matt Riddle right now, do they care about Matt Riddle? Or are they trying to make money off of his name and allow him to fuck up? Then that's a problem.
Yeah, I was also wondering. They never said. I know they titled it that pro wrestling and MMA companies are interested, and we got a chance to hear the MMA companies that was mentioned, Bare Knuckle or PML. They didn't really mention nothing of the pro wrestling. They said AEW, Tony Khan is interested, but really hasn't done anything. I wonder is either Impact or MLW or I don't know PWG, or is there any other wrestling companies that are really trying to go after him?
Yeah, so my guess is that it's not necessarily that as much as independent people immediately, like I said, use Matt Riddle, use his name to get more people in. That's what I would assume. Also, Riddle will get a pretty good penny to wrestle on the independents. So a lot of these promoters will basically, put out a lot of money in hopes that they'll get asses in seats. And he'll probably come in and wrestle a match and then disappear, that kind of stuff.
Yeah.
That happens a lot. But again, the question is, when you do that, who's watching out for him?
Yeah.
There's, how many people are going to, potentially give him substances in the locker room or after the show, the fans and, slipping them stuff and giving them stuff and whatnot, or taking them out and getting them drunk, etc. So, that's the thing. Of course, AEW is going to be mentioned because Tony Khan's got the money, right? That if he wants money, that's where you go.
Right.
unless one of the MMA companies is willing to pay you a shit ton of money for 2 or 3 fights.
Right.
That's the other way to go. But does he have? I guess does he have that ability to monitor his own behavior? And right now, it doesn't seem like he does.
Right. Well, we wish Matt Riddle all the success, and as he tries to move through this journey of trying to figure this out. I know that some things are tougher for some than others, but it's a learning experience. So the first thing he's definitely got to do is really try to get some help with the drinking, with the alcoholism. And if he can somehow battle that, that would be the first step. It's not even to a point where he wouldn't even never be able to come back to WWE, but the question becomes is, what are you doing to really change your life, showing that you're a completely different person, and in that now, you're going to listen. No company ever wants to worry about if some of their employees are just going to be a liability to them. WWE knows that it don't matter where John Cena is at or across the world, no matter whatever he says on a mic, on a radio, on a TV, everything is just going to just going to be solid. They don't have to worry about that, and that's what mostly every company looks for. So that's the question that these guys.
Well, and you know what? You just brought up a good point. Not only does a company look for it, but the guys like The Rock, Cena, Austin, Batista, these guys, they are their brand.
Well, true.
So that's the thing. The thing is that they're selling themselves.
Right.
And anything that they do that is negatively reflects back on their brand.
That's right.
And that's when companies don't want to work, with you. Look, Cena has so many fucking commercials. Yeah. It's unbelievable. And the reason is because all these companies are so comfortable dealing with the guy who is the biggest Make-A-Wish guy who's ever existed, right?
Right.
Like that is the dream scenario for a company that's looking for, the advertisers are looking for someone to represent a brand. So, right now, what would Matt Riddle's options be? Like, Captain Morgan?
No, I know what you mean. Right. Yeah. I mean, yeah. I wish him luck, man. I wish him luck. Okay. Let's see. I mean, is there anything here for the third count? Doesn't look like it. It doesn't look like. We're gonna call this we'll call this a DQ. We didn't actually get to the third count. DQ, interruption. We went over time.
It's a no contest.
There you go. Every blue moon it happens in a match. It happens on a podcast too. So we don't have a winner here. But listen, we thank everybody.
We always have a winner here, and you're looking at
it. We're looking at him, right? Hey, we always thank for you guys to join us on our live podcast feed. We do this every Sunday, 8 p.m. Pacific Standard Time. So if you happen to be up and chilling, just come and hang with us. Say hi. Like we have one of our guys here. Can't even Valve PDW. I don't know. That's his username. But hey, he said, hey, what's up? Hey, that's all you can do. Just jump in and say, hey, what's up? Even if you don't have a comment, we just love to see that you're out there. And if you don't or unable to join us live, just downloading the podcast. We're on every platform you can think of. And we appreciate it. Next week, the guys are going to be back. They'll wake up from their dream and they'll tell us all about it. So I'm sure we'll be excited for that. Matt Michaels, you got any final words or anything? maybe in the world of FSW? Maybe something's going on over there.
Actually, FSW is just probably finishing up right now. Lethal
Oh, okay.
Consequences.
Lethal. Okay.
Yeah.
By the way, quick question on that. When I had, and by the way, it's cool interviewing Joe. I shout out to you, man. It's because I don't follow as much as I should. You know, it seems like I probably would be the least guy to be hosting it, but Joe is so fabulous on just being able to get the information out and then listening to you when you guys are doing your show. It's just awesome to hear, and it's hard to follow in those footsteps. But I wanted to mention when I did a show, he said they were trying to get Jay Lethal, but he also told me what was sort of the issue with AEW during that time, which I think is what's happening tonight. What came out of that? Did Jay Lethal?
So it wasn't that they were trying to get Jay Lethal. They had Jay Lethal. That's why it was called Lethal Consequences.
Right. Got you. Okay. Yeah.
But at the same time, Joe was very aware that as of, when they started putting out Lethal Consequences and they started advertising Jay Lethal's seminar, they were very cautious how they did it because Joe was very aware that AEW at any moment could pull the plug because they had a pay-per-view.
Right.
Now, the problem with this is that AEW approves it, but there's no sense of who did that, right?
Yeah.
So then what happens is someone else then goes, whoa. You have to be at the pay-per-view. Okay. So now you got to pull them. So they pull them.
Okay.
But what Joe has a point on is the fact that they pulled a guy who wasn't being used on the pay-per-view at all.
Right. Yeah. It doesn't make sense to me.
So instead of letting this guy do the show, and Jay Lethal, by far, as great of a wrestler as he is not an integral part of what is happening
right
on this pay-per-view, on Wrestle
exactly.
Essentially.
Yeah.
But you look at, overall, he's very much in the lower mid card with Jarrett and, the Sanjay and the big dude. So it's not like having him do this show would have caused any type of disruption to their product.
Right.
But, and again, if it was a company that they were in bed with, AEW was in bed with, then I mean, everything would have been a go. But someone in that office got wind and saw this and decided, well, that's and honestly, I'm almost 100% sure this has nothing to do with Tony Khan at all.
Yeah.
This has to do with, front office. I don't even know if it has anything to do with talent relations. So I don't even know if Chris Daniels had anything to do with it.
Sure.
I just think that there are people who are in the offices there who, one person says one thing, the other person says another thing, the other person says another thing, the other person says another thing.
Yeah, it's like everyone talk to one another,
Yeah, and everyone is essentially trying to show that they deserve their job or are trying to look good in the eyes of the owner. So,
yeah,
I
get that.
So no, Jay Lethal could not appear based on his AEW commitments.
Yeah. No doubt. It was still a great card anyway. After he was running down who we were going to see, it was if you were able to attend the show tonight or watch it on Fight TV,
you on Fight Plus. Yeah, get Fight Plus. If you guys don't have Fight Plus, that's something that is worth the $8 a month because you can watch FSW, but not only Future Stars of Wrestling here in Vegas, but like everything.
Yeah.
everything is accessible. GCW and all these independent companies are using that platform, and you can click on wrestling and watch wrestling all fucking day and night.
Right. No doubt, man. Cool. That was pretty much your final thought.
Yep.
All right.
Oh, and Rep Sports. Remember, Rep Sports. For all the U.S. servicemen out there, thank you for your service. And remember, if you're in the armed services, go to Rep Sports, use the code word Vegas to get 10% off.
Hold on, let me throw it up for
you. Get it up there. There we
go. There you go. Awesome. As much as we heard it, man, you should know that by memory. Oh man. All right. With that, guys, we'll do it again next week. Thanks for hanging out. Peace.